Today on the program, we are looking at the reading culture in Nigeria and the revival of the book clubs. When was the last time you read a book?
Well, I think that the information we want, that we need to move everything forward is in books.
I always say to my friends that if I don't read, I feel like I'm going to die.
Dolapo, when was the last time you read a book?
Well, I read every day.
The Bible.
Yes.
I know.
I confess, I read the Bible every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Amazons.
The importance of good education cannot be overemphasized. Education shapes a society's future, and nations across the world vote huge sums of money towards educational growth. It is an established fact that education is the root for a healthy community. Education not only gives knowledge, but prepares our children for a better future. However, in Nigeria today, the decay in our education system has raised a lot of questions. Much as politicians use this sector as a major focus area in debates and manifestos, it is truly disheartening that after 16 years of uninterrupted democratic rule, the rot seems more corrosive. More alarming, however, is the decline in reading culture. Though not unique to Nigeria, it is a sad reflection of the decay in the polity. We have decided to examine this issue and also to talk to some people in our midst who are trying in their own little ways to revive the reading culture and book clubs in Nigeria. Indeed, if education is the bedrock of knowledge, if learning how to read and write is the key to unlocking potentials, does it mean that we are locked out? Welcome to the Amazons. Today on the program, we are looking at the reading culture in Nigeria and the revival of the book clubs. When was the last time you read a book? Indeed, have you ever read a book since you left school? For our young children, how much time do they spend to read a book? How many books have you read in a week or in a month? Maybe I'm also guilty and being a part of the decay in the reading culture of Nigeria. I have my Amazons with me in the studio, Bimbo, Dolapo. Let me put you on the spot.
Please.
Bimbo. When was the last time you read a book?
A few days ago. I have a thing. I love to read. I read a lot of novels. I read poetry. I write poetry. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm more in what I do professionally is dramatic. Maybe that's why I love the idea of disappearing into a good novel. I read a lot.
So what are you reading now?
If I could tell you this, it's a romance. Please do not crucify me. It's a romance, but I tend to read anything and everything. I read literature. I read plays. I read poetry. Some of my favorite poets are Langston Hughes. Loads of people. I read all the time. I always say to my friends that if I don't read, I feel like I'm going to die.
All right. Dolapo, when was the last time you read a book?
Well, I read every day.
The Bible.
Yes.
I know.
I confess, I read the Bible every day. But really, I'm not much of it. I'm not going to lie. I don't really read that much anymore. I used to before, but now with, with family life and running around, I don't get much time to read. But I write. I love writing. So I am guilty. I don't read that much.
Okay. I used to read a lot when I was in school. For those people in my generation, we read Adley Chase. Crime novels.
Shameless.
Yeah. Adley Chase, An Heir to the Ground, The Enemy Next Door, those things that, thrillers that will keep you in suspense. You pick up the book, you don't want to put it down. You are sent on an errand, you get bitten sometimes, that your head is still buried in the book. I don't know how much of books are our youths read today because there are so many other things taking away their attention. Now you have social media, they are either on Facebook, they are tweeting, they are on the computer. But the schools really will be telling us what they are doing with the reading culture of our students today, as we have guests on the program who will be telling us what exactly is going on with the reading culture amongst our youths. First, it starts from the schools, maybe from the homes, where we teach our children from right when they're young.
Yes, parents do. So parents have a responsibility as well. You must encourage your children to read. If for no other reason, you learn new words. Read a book, you will learn a word. It's impossible for you not to learn something from reading, because that's one of the things that helped me as a child. Reading, I look at the word, I say, what does that mean? I'll go to the dictionary, check it out. It helps with your vocabulary at the end of the day.
But you know what? With this new e-book thing and everything, I think we're moving away from the days where Aisha used to read the James Hadley Chase. You know when those ones that after reading it, the back gets turned and then you clip it together. I'm sure that's what Aisha is talking about. But these days now you can download books online and the e-books and everything.
I'm guilty of that as well.
You're guilty of that as well. So I don't know. Aisha, do you think there's a difference between reading books that are downloaded online?
The fact is that you're reading.
As long as you read.
As long as you're reading, e-book, the paperback.
Whatever it is,
as long as you're reading. We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we will be talking to people who really should know what is happening to our reading habits and culture in Nigeria. After the break, you are watching The Amazon.
That there are people who earned 50,000 naira at a certain point in their lives, and they said, when I earn 70,000, I'll save money. Now, this same person gets a government appointment later on and starts to earn 2 million naira, he's still not saving money. For example, this same person steals 1 billion naira, and he's still not saving money, so he needs to keep stealing more money. Perhaps, if he knew what to do with 1 billion naira, he would not need to steal anymore.
Actually, in schools today, that culture is dropping. Just because students are no longer interested in reading, they prefer the easy way.
Welcome back to the Amazons, where today we are discussing the revival of book culture in Nigeria, or what you may want to call the revival of reading culture in Nigeria. Joining us in the studio to discuss this is a book club founder, Alexis Onome Egboge, and of course, is principal of a school, Linland College, here in Lagos, Kenneth Oke. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guests.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Amazon. Please sit down.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Please have a seat. Thank you. Welcome to the Amazons. Let me start with Onome. You are a founder of a book club. What informed your decision to, how did you decide, or why did you decide to form a book club? Why did you decide to want to start a book club?
What happened was I looked at Nigeria and the situation we found ourselves in, with everybody complaining about things not working. And I just thought I could relate this to illiteracy and a lack of enlightenment. Because I say to myself that, I give an example, that there are people who earned 50,000 naira at a certain point in their lives, and they said, when I earn 70,000, I'll save money. Now, this same person gets a government appointment later on and starts to earn 2 million naira, he's still not saving money. For example, this same person steals 1 billion naira, and he's still not saving money, so he needs to keep stealing more money. Perhaps, if he knew what to do with 1 billion naira, he would not need to steal anymore. For example, now, you walk into a building, a top-notch building in Nigeria, you look at the lines, they're not straight. That's because the bricklayer or the person who has done the screening work doesn't understand that if the lines are straighter, it will look more aesthetically beautiful, for example. So everything...
So how do you relate this to reading a book?
Well, I think that the information we want, that we need to move everything forward is in books. So if we have known for a long while, like some of us know, that it is said in certain circles that if you want to keep a secret from a black man, put it in a book, then we should try and defeat that. We should actually find out what is in those books that they've been keeping from us.
Okay.
And we also know that there are certain books around the world that have information that were created by black people like us that have been kept from the rest of the world because they hold secrets that would unlock the future of Africa. So we should immerse the children in the books. That's the idea.
Okay, Mr. Okay, you are a principal of a college, Leland College here in Lagos. You know, I remember in those days when we were in secondary schools, in those days, you know, I'm talking in the 70s now, so you can begin to guess how old I am. We had time where, you know, where that time was dedicated to go to the library, to go and read. You know, sometimes our break times were cut in halves in such a way that after having your lunch, you spend some time reading a book, and then you go back to your normal classes. What happens? What is the routine like in schools today as regards this culture of making students read books?
Actually, in schools today, that culture is dropping just because students are no longer interested in reading. They prefer the easy way. Like I used to say, I ask my students, which one is easy, reading a book or not reading a book? They will say, it's easier not to read a book. I say, which one is easier, burning the midnight candle or sleeping all through the night? They will say it's easier to sleep through the night. You find out that students of today, they don't love reading. Even going to the library to read, they are no longer interested. It's dropping. It's dropping.
But do we still have libraries in schools?
Yes, we have libraries.
And they have books?
We have books.
Well enough books?
We have books. But the thing is that students of today, they are destructive. Most of the times you see the books, they will start to tear instead of reading. So that is really affecting.
But can we say that that's a failure of the educational system? Because at the end of the day, what a teacher is supposed to do is inspire your students to want to learn.
It's true.
Inspire your students to want to read. There are techniques that you can use to make this happen. So wouldn't you say it's a failure of our educational system?
Well, I would say it's a failure on our education system, because I know one thing: the extent you read will still determine the extent you know. So that will drastically affect our students, because when you don't read, the knowledge will not be there.
So why leave the choice for the students to make, whether to read or not?
The way I see it, the students, they need to be motivated to read. They need to be encouraged to read. Since that reading culture is dropping, they need to be forced. Even parents should still be involved in the area of encouraging their children to read.
Okay, I'm not a teacher, but you know, I've always worked with children. I love and I always say this to people, that no matter what age a child is, they can learn as long as you teach them the right way. And it's pretty easy for me to inspire. If I wanted people to read, and I'm a teacher, it's very easy. I come into class and I say, okay, tomorrow we're going to talk about so-so-so. It's in so-so book. If you want a copy of the book, I'll give it to you. But you must realize that it will tell on your marks first. So you know that if you don't read it, you're not going to get your marks. Also, we're going to discuss it in class. We're going to make, we're going to do a play. I want you to give me a script based on what you have read. So at the end of the year, we'll put up a play. And also, we give the best student, when it comes to such an exercise, a gift, incentive.
That is motivation.
It's so easy, I think.
That is the motivation. But Dolapo, you were
No, I mean, as a principal of a school, I mean, I got children that are in school, and I know that what they do is they give them books to read every week, and they have to return it at the end of the week. And then also there's a book they send to the parent, and you have to stay with your child and then write down the words that they can't pronounce, and they also have to write a summary. I mean, presently, one of the things that they're trying to do is actually to build a reading garden. So I think in a lot of schools now, I think with the book clubs things springing up, Channels is even doing something like that, I think. With it springing up left, right, and center now, I think we're beginning to realize that it's something that we need to incorporate and also encourage our children and adults as well, you know, to start doing.
Okay, Mr. Buge, in your book club, how many members do you have? I mean, do you borrow out books? How do you run it? What exactly do you do in this book club?
Well, there are 3 models for the book clubs. The first one was started in the barracks, in the police barracks in Ikeja somewhere, because I lived just across from the barracks and I used to go there to buy things. And because I carry a camera a lot of the time with me, you know, the children will come around and say, oh, take my picture, take my picture. I say, well, I will, if you read this book and tell me what it's about. And that was how it started, really. You know, so what we have is the barracks model. We're working with the police very soon to have them in every barracks around the country.
So to encourage policemen to read and their children?
The children, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's a disciplinary system in the barracks already, which exists. And then the barracks is a mini Nigeria, you know, every language in the same place. Children don't discriminate against themselves in that situation. And so, of course, they encourage themselves to read.
Okay, so in the schools, Mr. Okay, the Literary and Debating Society was an activity that we look forward to when we were in school. Are there still those in schools of today, literary and debating? Because that also would inspire students to want to read, because you have to read to know what you're going to be talking about, not the one that you cram and say good afternoon to the judges and timekeeper and all of that. So how does that work now in schools?
Yes, in schools we still have clubs, like we have press club, even literary and debating society we still have, they are still functioning. It's just that the thing there is that the standard is dropping. They are not making much impact as it was before. So that's the thing.
I'd like to ask you a question. They bring back the book launched by President Jonathan Goodluck. I mean, I know it was launched in 2011, and then there was a lull, and then later it's been, launched again. Is it helping in any way? Do you think they can do more? It's fine for us to say that children should read, but at the end of the day, I know that it would be nice, because what I know some schools are doing is they ask parents to donate books. Rather than give money, they say bring books. We want to put them in the library. Do you think there's anything the government can do to actually get to schools and actually make sure that what you're doing and what the teachers are trying to do in school can actually move, faster than it is, the pace that it's going right now?
I think a lot lies with the individuals and not government. Yes, government is there, they have the infrastructure, they have the financing that's required. But I think it's much easier when we create an initiative, start it, make it work, then government will come in faster. Because I started this on my own. There are 13 book clubs, all done with my own funding, which is not a lot of funding. For example, Orlando Julius, the musician, gave an outhouse in his compound, says, use this as a book club. And it was amazing. We got there and all the children had come. Now government is saying to me, yeah, okay, fine, we can support you from this time and that time. That's because I started. And it doesn't take a lot. These books, you can buy fairly used books. They are books. The fairly used books cost 100 naira, 150, 200 naira.
Okay, at this point, we would like to hear from the students, Leland College students who are here with us in the studio. Thank you for coming. The lady in front, yes. The young woman, the young girl in front. Thank you for joining us. Tell me your name.
Gold Oluwajoba.
That's such a sweet name, Gold Oluwajoba. Gold, tell me, what class are you?
SS3. SS3.
SS3. Okay, so you've listened to what we've been talking about here all along.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me, do you read? Do you read? Is reading a habit for you?
I don't usually read because reading is not my culture. I prefer taking Bible, solving maths, reading. It's once in a while, but I love reading novels that catches my attention. Social novels that has pictures, not novels that straight, no pictures, everything. So I read once in a while. I read the Bible.
Okay, just like Dolapo. At least you read. You read novels, and then you are a science student. So.
No, commercial student.
Sorry?
Commercial.
Commercial. Okay. Yes. So you read on your own. What about in your school?
I read once in a while. If I have time and I see that there's not even much for me to do, I take books, read. With my jotter, writing words I don't know the meaning, or with my dictionaries, looking at the words, checking the dictionary, knowing the meaning, and I flow along well.
Do you have a library in your school?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times have you been in the library?
5 times.
In all of your 6 years in this school?
No, this term.
Okay, this term. All right, that's fair enough. Can we have the gentleman at the back? Tell us your name, please.
Ferdinand Aikemi.
Okay, Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Now, how about you? What's your reading habit like?
Not always.
Do you read at all on your own?
Yes, I read. But the problem is that especially sports in the world has affected our education. Because most of us, when we are supposed to read, because of this, especially football, it affects our reading culture.
Okay, so the last book you read, tell me the name of the last book.
I read Abablio Chemistry. Abablio Chemistry.
Okay.
Chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry.
Textbook.
But that's a textbook, a book, a novel.
A novel. I'm not too used to novel because actually I don't like reading novels. Okay. But I love all those little ones that have stories that catches my heart.
Okay.
Only.
Mills and Boom.
No way.
Okay, give the microphone to the lady next to you. Hello, my dear.
My name is Halabiolu Atose.
Okay, so let's hear from you. Do you belong to any society that has anything to do with reading, either in school or out of school?
No. I only go to tutorials after school. I do go to tutorials, but in my school, I'm in press club. It does involve reading too, but not that kind of reading.
Okay, so tell me, what do you do in the press club?
We do a lot, like we interview students, but we've not done it socially. We've not made it.
You've not printed a magazine or a newsletter
Yes,
at all?
yes, due to the situation. Sure. And we do write. We encourage writing and those kind of stuff. But we don't go out. We don't go out. And it's really affecting us.
So did you say you are the president of the press club?
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't read?
Ma'am?
You don't read?
No, I don't read. Apart from my syllabus, I'm not really this social person.
Do you use the internet often? Do you use the internet often?
Yes.
Do you download ebooks or anything like
No,
that?
the only books I download are Shakespearean novels.
Those are novels.
Okay, literature.
Those are novels at the end of the day. They're plays, but they're novels too.
Anyway, so no, the books we're talking about,
drama.
whether ebooks or paperback, as long as you read, those are the books we're talking about.
Okay.
It can be on the internet or you don't go to the internet to read. I don't want to ask you what you do on the internet. Please.
I do read Aliquin novels.
Okay. All right. That's good. So let's have the last student. What's the name?
The name is Alausa Toib.
Alausa, tell me your own experience with books. Are you friends with books?
I must confess, any book that is strange to my line of study, I'm not conversant with it. That is, I don't have this relation to any book that is not in my line of study. If you see me with a book, then it should be a book relating to science. But should I be with another book, it's either the book is, it has few pages, because I can't imagine myself reading the likes of Shakespeare's, and then you look at the book, it's like a dictionary.
Shakespeare is amazing.
I know, Ma, but when you pick up
how many pages are you comfortable with in a book?
5?
Should I read a book that much? If I should open it, at least I should see one calculation. But I can't imagine myself wasting hours. Sorry, I use that wasting words. But I can't imagine myself losing that kind of hour to reading a book as big as a dictionary without one number, except from that with the numbering of the pages.
Are you a science student? Are you a science student?
That's right.
Okay.
What I like about him is his confidence, with his words and his composure. He's making his points, whether it's amusing to us or not, but he's making a very valid point. Anything that doesn't have anything to do with his line of study.
He's not interested in it.
I'll tell you what.
Thank you very much.
I understand that you're a science student, but read a book. You learn so much about other cultures, places that you have not been to. It's important. It's like leaving where you are and going into a different world. It's amazing. I do that all the time. I'm able to travel by just reading a book. So it opens you to new experiences. Please read a book.
Thank you so much, students of Leland College, for being a part of the Amazons today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are still watching the Amazons. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we will be talking more on the reading culture in Nigeria and the book clubs. What are they doing to revive the reading culture of the people of Nigeria after the break? Thank you so much.
My teachers were the greatest examples I could give for any situation. We had a teacher that broke her leg. They put a splint on it. She was on stage that same night.
So that shows dedication.
Yes, they inspired us. They were actors as well. They taught us, when they were teaching you, it was with so much passion, which is lacking now.
I think it's hilarious. I mean, experience when you were an undergraduate and all the things we got up to do then, and I hope some of my friends in UI then will not kill me later.
Welcome back to the Amazons, where today we are discussing the revival of the reading culture in Nigeria. We've had a school principal join us on the program. We had a founder of a book club who's also joined us. Indeed, we've had students who have joined us to talk about this topic. Our next set of guests are also in the line of either writing or about to publish a book, as we call on an aspiring author who indeed has come from a family line of publishers. Please join me in welcoming Oseyemi Fagbamigbe.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Also joining us is Ifeoma Adibe Chukwuka, who is Executive Director of Iac. Please welcome Ifeoma.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Hello, Ifeoma. How are you? Please have a seat. Thank you, Oseyemi and Ifeoma, if I may call you by your first name, please. Welcome to the Amazons. Iac, what is Iac?
Okay, Iac is a non-profit organization. It's African Youth Empowerment and Change Initiative. We focus on women and young people. That's what we do.
All right, that's what the meaning of Iac is.
Yes.
Oseyemi, can you tell us about your works as an aspiring author?
I actually have a blog, and I write mostly about women experience, personal experience, and women. And a friend called me up and said, how come you're not writing? And I was like, I just write for fun. I'm not, I don't want to make money out of it. I just enjoy writing. And she said, you know, you were a good writer even when we were in school. And I said, okay. So, okay, let's write about experience in school. And I went to UI. There were 7 of us who were friends, and we're still friends till today. And so it's been 30 years that we've been friends. So we tried to capture the essence of our experience in UI then, because, I mean, we went to school when school was cool and we had fun, you know, and so that's what we're doing now. And that's what I've finished my part, so she's doing her own part. And I'm working with another friend of mine, and we're writing something related to experience in marriage.
Okay.
Yes, that's the other project I'm working on, apart from my blog, which I write.
So your target for reading are really women and...
Well, I think it's general interest. It's not just women. Anybody can pick it. It's easy enough to read. Okay. I hope that first quarter next year the books will be out. Easy enough for you to read. I think it's hilarious. I mean, experience when you were an undergraduate and all the things we got up to do then. And I hope some of my friends in UI then will not kill me later, you know. But I mean, these were things that we had fun. And
is it a tell-all book?
Is it?
Is it a tell-all? Like your escapades
yes,
in school?
But what escapades in school, yes, but I introduced some form of fiction into the story. Right. And then I changed names because I don't want to embarrass people. I mean, this happened some years ago, so I don't want to embarrass people, so I changed names. But if you read it, you will know whether I'm referring to you or not. I mean, you know what happened. And but it's basically about 7 girls that met in UI. And we became friends, and we've bonded since then, and we're still friends till today.
So would you call that a true life story, a thriller, or what is it, the other word? The books are a drama, you know, what kind of book?
I would just say true life, but embellished a bit.
Okay, all right. Ifeoma, how does the Iac, how does that encourage people to read, or what are the works that you do that can revive or resuscitate the dying culture of reading?
Okay, our organization, like I said, is a non-profit organization, and we target women and young people. We actually facilitate interventions when it comes to education. You know, part of our project, we run a literacy program for women who have lost a chance to go to school when they were young. You know, we have community learning centers that cater for them. Then we run what we call a book bank. People donate books to us, and we set up libraries in especially public schools, you know, to encourage, because we found out that majority of the public schools in Nigeria, or let's just take Lagos, don't even have a library facility, you know, so we get those books, people donate the book to our book bank, then we set up libraries for primary schools. First, we're starting with primary schools. So we're encouraging them to start reading, because if you don't expose young people to reading when they are young, you don't expect them to, you know, inculcate that habit when they get older. So that's what we are doing with our project.
How easy is it to get people to donate? Because I know that the people get donations from England and everywhere else. I buy a lot of books, and I realized at one point that one of the places I was buying from was actually selling books that had been donated.
Wow, okay.
That's what I realized, because I was flipping through one of the books one day, and I noticed that, you know what, there's a stamp here, and it shows that it was a donation. Because what people do is they do go over there, collect these books, come back here and sell them to people. So how easy is it for you to get donations?
It's, for us as an organization, for now, we don't even get any international donation. That is what we wanted to do, because we want to start encouraging Nigerians to give. We don't ask them for money. We are working in collaboration with Pearson. Pearson is currently in Nigeria. So what they do is they buy the books from Pearson and send to us, but we encourage people to write their names. Like if you're donating a book, Bimba Akitola, we love from Bimba Akitola on the front page of the book, so we can't even sell the book. You know, so when we collect 500 books, Pearson now funds, you know, building that structure. It doesn't have to be a full class; it can be a shelf. 500 books, and we shelf them in the schools, and that's how we do that.
Brilliant. As a writer, wouldn't you say it was a sort of education that you received that made it possible? Because I went to UI as well, thank you, Lord. And my teachers, I'm serious, my teachers are my heroes. They made UI amazing for me. I had the best time of my life in school. My teachers were the greatest examples I could give for any situation. We had a teacher that broke her leg. They put a splint on it. She was on stage that same night.
So that shows dedication.
Yes, they inspired us. They were actors as well. They taught us, when they were teaching you, it was with so much passion, which is lacking now, wouldn't you say?
I agree with you, Bimbo. But I, like I said, I come from a family of publishers, so maybe it started from home. But I will say that, you know, don't let us lay it at the doorstep of the school alone. Interest in reading starts from when the child is still a toddler. You have to show, as a parent, you have to read to your child when they can't even read. By the time you read to your child, the child will pick up the interest. So we won't have a case of when you are now in secondary school, you are being forced to read, because you have already picked up that interest as a toddler. I remember that when I was in secondary school, my father then, I mean, there was a time, initially they were doing strictly textbooks. Then there was a time they moved into novels. And my father brought in the novels and made us read them. And he called us to tell him the stories. And it was like he has read them, so you cannot lie about the story. So over time, I developed that interest, which actually helped in writing again. So I think we should start from home. Parents shouldn't send their child to go and watch TV when they think the child is disturbing. Let the child read. Create time for TV time, create time for reading. Let it start from home. Then teachers will have it much easier.
Okay. One thing I was going to ask you something, because you said something about the establishing, I think you said, schools in communities to encourage women who missed out on going to school. I mean, how good is that? And how many communities do you work with?
Okay, it's not actually a school. Sorry. Okay. We call it a community learning center, Educate a Community Learning Center.
Okay.
And it runs 3 times in a week. We actually have an approval from the government to use primary school facilities.
Okay.
So in the evening, between the hours of 4 to 7, the women come who have already enrolled. And we use public primary schools. And we found out that many guardians of women who have children in public schools are actually, let's say, illiterate. So that was our first point of call. You know, we started, when school resumed, we go to them and we get the headmasters or headmistress to give us a list of women or you know, like parents who haven't gone to school or have a difficulty in reading and writing, then they enroll in the program. You know.
Is it free?
Yes, it's free. Yes, it's free.
So any woman can just walk into the place.
They currently
and
have,
then, okay, how long does it take?
9 months. It takes 9 months, yes.
And then do they get any form of certificate?
Yes, from the Lagos State
And
government.
at the end of 9 months, these women are able to read and write.
Yes, we've
That's
done
fantastic.
it for 2 years now. We have 3 centers. We have one in Ikorodu, one in Isola. We just opened one in Ilorin, so it makes it 3.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Good.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ifeoma. Thank you, Osayemi, for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
We hope that after watching this program, a lot of people will pick up interest in reading books again, especially those that have, you mentioned the Voices by
Chief Awolowo.
I mean, that's a great Nigerian leader, you know, a man who truly the Yoruba people as a race, you know, everybody wants to be like Obafemi Awolowo. And I think we should know, our youth should know a lot about our leaders, biographies, not only crime and thrillers or dramas. We will be back after the break. You're still watching Amazons.
It's a sad story. Very sad story, because for about 16 years now, I've been interviewing people, graduates, both in writing and in spoken English. It's nothing to write home about.
Welcome back to the Amazons, where today we are discussing the revival of the reading culture in Nigeria. We've had so many interesting guests on the program today, from a school principal to a book, an aspiring author, to a lady, a young woman who is doing so much for schools, inspiring women and children to pick up the reading habit. And of course, we also had the students of Leland College who have joined us on the program. Now we want to talk to those who employ the graduates to the firms where they earn their daily living. We will be asking her so many questions about the quality of those that are being employed to our institutions today in Nigeria. Please welcome our human resources consultant, Van Orie. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Please have a seat. Thank you for joining us, Van Orie. Tell me, you are in the business of employing people. Tell me about the quality of, I'll start from graduates, you know, the quality of people that you employ. When you talk to them, how do they come across to you in expression, in conversation?
It's a sad story. Very sad story, because for about 16 years now, I've been interviewing people, graduates, both in writing and in spoken English. It's nothing to write home about. It's been sad because back in the years when we went to school, in the 80s, the late 80s, I think that is when education actually, the standard started dropping, the late 80s. Because when I left school in 88, it was still better, but from the 90s, it started dropping. Now, from the 90s, I started working in the recruitment department. And when graduates came for interviews, I would ask myself, did they actually attend the schools we attended? Were they here in Nigeria? Sorry to say, did they come from these other West African countries, or, you know? But then when I see their CVs, when I see their certificates, I found out that they went to the same schools we went to. And I kept crying out. I had a case where we interviewed about 30 people and we couldn't get one person for a position. I have had cases...
All graduates, right?
Yes, all graduates. All graduates, not even HNDs. I'm talking of BSc, you understand, not HNDs. I'm talking of bachelor degree in science or bachelor degree in arts. And I started asking myself, because I love education. I love reading, I love studying, I love researching. And I was asking myself what we have gotten ourselves into. But along the line, I found out something that it wasn't actually, we like to blame people, we like to blame systems, we like to blame the other person, not we. Then
So
I found out that it wasn't 100% the system. It wasn't 90% the schools. It was 100% the person. The person.
How so?
Okay. I'll tell you. Unfortunately, I schooled in my village, my primary school. I attended my primary school in my village. And I remembered I never came second. I read. And then when I had an external examination to take for federal school, I took it outside the village. I was number 3 on the board. And there were others who came from big cities and all that. And I asked myself, why was I this? But I looked inward, I found out that I gave myself to studying. And this day, we find students who do not want to read. They don't want to read. Nobody wants to study. They are looking for a micro-oven certificate or some sort of learning system that will, that will push them up there to be who they want to be. If you don't read, if you don't study, you can't even define yourself. When we read, we were looking for some sort of stuff when we were back then in school. We were reading people's characters aside the normal academic books. We were looking up to people. We were reading people. We were reading their characters. We were reading achievers, reading about people that have achieved. And then we're bracing up ourselves to becoming like them. Now, if I don't read, I wouldn't be in that position.
But one thing that we perhaps is common, we all agree, there's a common agreement that indeed we have identified that there is a decay. Indeed, we have identified that there's a decline. Indeed, we have also identified that the decay and decline is a spiral, because right now the quality of people we have around are not, they are not standardized.
No.
If you get what I mean. So if you don't have standardization in the schools that people are going to now, because the teachers are not dedicated, even the teachers are half educated, if you do not have the standardization of the teaching process, so how do you get out the standardization in the quality of the employables?
Okay, like I said, we give blames, but then I'm not saying the system is totally 100% what it's supposed to be. The standard is lowered, both in facilities, in schools. There are a lot of things you don't get in school. Yet we are crying out, we are saying this is a technology period and all that, but we don't get these things, resources to, bring these students to the standard that you can equate with the international standard. And, funny enough, when I go to schools, they tell me they have broad curricula. They have a school will have British, American, French, Nigerian curricula, 4 curricula. And then when the students come out, you can't identify any of them, any of this curriculum in any student. You can't identify the fact that the student has gone through these 4 curricula. You cannot identify. The system too is not helping matters. And again, like I said, from the 90s, I'm sorry to say this, the teachers we have who left school in the 90s, they can't give what they don't have. They don't have it, and they can't give it to them.
Do they even have teachers training college anymore?
I don't think they have that.
I went to a teachers training college. Good. For 5 years, I was trained as a teacher. I'm meant to be a teacher. I just decided not to be one. I went to a school for 5 years, trained to be a teacher. I went to another one for 3 years, trained to be a teacher. So I had 5 plus 3, 8 years of training as a teacher.
You see, Aisha, you went to that school because you have a passion for it. Most of the teachers we have now, they're teaching because it's an end to, they're just looking for ways
for livelihood. Sure.
So now we are going to throw it up to the audience. You have any comments, our audience? You've been so quiet and listening attentively. Maybe you are reflecting on your own reading habits and, you know, what we've been talking about here since.
My name is Cosby. You see, life is a do-it-yourself thing. No matter who stands there to teach you, and then at the end of the day, the person will leave. Then you will be on your own. The issue of studies or learning or education in Africa or in Nigeria has to do with the individual. First of all, not government or the schools. These things are there. Even when you're talking about teachers' salary and what the teachers earn, go to some schools. Look at the cars some teachers have, you'll be amazed. The cars teachers have today, you'll be amazed. It's true, it's there. Just when we come on TV like this, maybe we are so compassionate or whatever about teachers. It is not about the salary. It is about what you are willing to give to society, what you are willing to give so that your name too will be written down. See, the preference over money than building yourself, being a better person, will make you read. Nobody taught me how to read. This is the first time I'm saying this in public. Nobody ever taught me how to read, except the reading of ABC. But I picked something from one of my teachers in primary school. He said, learn to read.
We have your point now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Briefly, please.
All right. My name is Williams. I want to say something about what this man said. That in life, there is always a beginning to everything. Someone must encourage you before you start doing something. So I just like every other sector in Nigeria, our educational sector has really deteriorated to the barest minimum. It takes a man in Nigeria a very strong determination for you to pick up the zeal to read. And judging by the kind of private schools we have in Nigeria, in every 2 streets in Lagos State, for example, you must find a private school there. And most of the owners of those schools are there just to make a better living for themselves. And then they tend to employ incompetent, cheap, and half-baked individuals and give them a title as teachers. And we all know that you can never give what you don't have.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, the gentleman just said it. He said it. It took the words out of my mouth. Bimbo, we have to go now. Just your last word, please.
I'm going to say to everyone out there, look, reading is amazing. Whether it's your books, your textbooks, or a novel, a play, for me, reading is transportation into another life, experiencing other people's lives, other people's cultures, traveling without moving from my bed. I love reading. Pick a book, please.
Delapo.
Well, what I'd just like to say is that, don't laugh, even the Bible says that my people die due to lack of, no, Bimbo. Even the Bible says my people die due to lack of knowledge. And the quest and desire, really, to be honest, for knowledge is something that needs to be imbibed in children from a very, very tender age. I still say go back home, you understand, going back to the beginning where mothers, parents have a responsibility to encourage reading and encourage children to want to actually know more and, you know, pursue knowledge. That's what I would say.
Well, beyond the government, really, education actually starts from the home. When was the last time you bought a book for your child or children to read? An hour on a Sunday afternoon spent with your child or your children to read would truly be a blessing to that child or children. It is easy to blame everybody else for something that is going on in the society. But the answer actually can be inward sometimes, as in this case. Please do spend the time to read with your children, especially from when they are very young, because that is the foundation for every society that is great today. Thank you so much, Ms. Orie, for being a part of the program. Our audience, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for being a part of the Amazons tonight. Until we meet you again next week, have a very truly pleasant reading culture. Have a good night.